In today's video, I have a truly awe-inspiring and massive game to show you, and it's actually a game that's been the #1 game on Board Game Geek for almost the last 2 years. It's won tons of awards and is something that I've been just waiting to do. This game's been sitting on my shelf just nagging at me because I just want everyone to know about this game because it's so much fun. I've played it once, but not my copy, but only one scenario, and I cannot wait to dig in. And so I'm literally just opening the box with you and gonna explore all the treasures that are inside. Okay, so before we get into all that though, my name is Bruce Brown and I'm the host of Board Game Impact. I have a passion for board gaming and believe that we can be better because games come and bring us together from all sorts of backgrounds. And this hobby has given me so much that I want to give back. On the other side, I'm also studying for my PhD in human resource development. What that really is how to maximize individuals and groups to bring out and unleash their potential into the world. And so I combine both of those things to give a more research and scholarly and do my homework type approach to the reviews, in this case unboxing videos that I do for you. And on top of this, I also have a podcast, Board Game Impact, available on all the platforms. And so if that sounds like something you're interested in, make sure to give a like on this so it'll pop up more in your newsfeed, as well as go check out that podcast and give a like to the Facebook page, because I just want to give back to the hobby because it's already given me so much. Okay, so the game that I'm going to be showing you, I already mentioned, it's been #1 on Board Game Geek for the last 2 years. And so if you know the Board Game Geek ranking, you know exactly what game I'm going to talk about and are probably just as excited as I am. But what this thing is in terms of the Board Game Geek ranking, before I get into that, is essentially there's a website called Board Game Geek. If you are a gamer and do not have an account on Board Game Geek, it's free to do. Go over there and hop on there. They get over 1 million unique downloads, not downloads, but users on the system every single month. It is the place and the hub for board gaming. Topics all over the board, but also it lists all the different games. People put in their comments, they add forum questions about things, rules questions. The designers of games often come on and help clarify things, but also it's people just celebrating the games that they enjoy, which is awesome. But also people make home versions of FAQs and different things. So go check that out, boardgamegeek.com. And so on top of all that, Board Game Geek puts on 2 conventions. And so I got to play this just after it came out about 2 years ago and immediately fell in love. And sadly, at that point, I had missed out on the Kickstarter for it, which was widely popular. I just didn't have the opportunity at the time. And so after I played it, I then watched and waited, just patiently waiting for the next Kickstarter to come out, because everywhere was sold out of this game. You couldn't find it. Now you can find it out in the wild, but at the time, super difficult. And so I waited, I backed it on Kickstarter, and I've now had it for a while. But I've been waiting because I know how much this game can mean for me, and also the value of the game is immense, and I wanted to add in some things to it, which I'm also going to be talking about in this video, and that is I purchased the Daedalus Productions Inc. Actual inserts for this game, and you're going to see why I wanted to have something like these. There's a whole bunch more, and what this video is actually going to be doing is unboxing this, but then I'm going to also show some things in a later video that's going to be me going through that process of taking everything from this box and putting it into these. So, without further ado, and this is going to be hard for me to show because it is literally massive. This thing weighs over 20 pounds for the box and the contents inside. So, bear with me. The game is Gloomhaven by Isaac Childress and published by Cephalofair Games. So, Gloomhaven really has its roots back in role-playing, actually. And so you've already seen that video that I've posted about Hero Quest, which came out in the late 80s, early 90s, which paid homage to Dungeons & Dragons, which came out in the early 70s. But Gloomhaven has taken that to a super next level. Now, over the years, Dungeons & Dragons has changed a little bit. So first really used to be really just about immersive play, and then as it went on, one of the editions, so 3rd and 4th edition, now it's on 5th, which is widely popular, but 4th edition, 3rd edition was really more about like tactical combat and how you would role play, right? But then you'd have this dungeon and a grid, and you're moving your characters around the board that the dungeon master would create and populate with monsters and things, and that was the way that game worked. And now in modern editions, the 5th edition of Dungeons & Dragons, it has that if you want it. It doesn't have to be there. And so for me, my game group, we have a little bit of it, but we also try and pull in more of the storytelling of the mind. What Gloomhaven is the reason it's a massive box, it's because it is that role-playing experience in a box. Many people have talked about how Gloomhaven is essentially role-playing in a box. If you like role-playing, especially that tactical combat where you're moving around to strategically do things, then you're going to love this game. And just as a heads up, this is going to be spoiler-free. I'm not going to be opening up the boxes or anything like, and if for you like, what boxes? You'll see in a minute. I'm not going to open any of those, and so don't worry about that. I'm not going to be spoiling anything. The only thing I might be showing are the actual tiles, but you're going to know what those are if you want a copy or you start playing this, so that's not a thing. That's not hidden information. And the other thing about it, and the reason those things aren't really spoilers, is because the reason this box is so massive is because everyone's going to have their character. Some people love playing this as a solo game or with 2 people, but some do it as a larger group. You're going to have your character, and that character is going to evolve over time. And based on how y'all work as a team, you will or will not unlock different story paths, because there's a whole campaign book in here. And what happens is there's up to 96 different scenarios that could play out. Now, however, if let's say your mission, and this is just me throwing something out here, I don't actually know because I haven't really played the campaign, but let's say your thing was to go rescue somebody, right? Well, if you ignore that and choose to go another way, and something comes up in the story that person has died, well, then you can't go rescue them. That's not how life works. And so based on your decisions in the game, you'll be going different pathways. And so the different monsters I'm going to show you, the different things like that, you might never see. But you're going to see a lot, and you're going to experience a lot in every single iteration of people playing this game. If you're into that strategic, tactical combat as well as that role playing, then this is a must. But again, I'm going to be opening this up right with you right here, right now. And so let's dig in. Ugh. This thing is massive. And I did cut the tape, but it still sticks together because the box is quite large. And so for size comparison, here is the entire box lid. And there's probably a good echo coming in on my mic right now, and that's because this thing is super deep. And look how deep it is. It's literally almost the width of my face. But the art on this game is really cool for when there is art. And in here we have a lot going on. I am going to pick this up so you can see what it looks like for me. And so in here, you start off right there with the solo scenarios. So the solo scenarios were actually a Kickstarter thing that I was able to get. I paid like $5 more, which is a side note. This game, I Kickstarted it. I believe it was for $110. It's been like a year and a half. You can find it for that price in some different places, but typically it's going to be going for $120 to $140. But like I said, you have up to 96 scenarios. So this is a game that you're going to be getting to the table a lot if this is a game, the type of game that interests you. And so one of the things I like to do when evaluating a game, and I've already talked a little bit how I add games, right? But one of the other things I do when adding games and thinking about it is, okay, what is the experience going to get me for the cost, right? Because some of us might be really constrained, and that might be a concern for you, and I completely get it. And so one of the things that you can think about is, okay, so in my town, I know we're very fortunate about this fact, but in my town, we're a college town. And so if I wanted to go see a movie with my wife, then each of us is going to be paying about $5 a ticket. Now, if I was back in New York, where I'm originally from, it's $15 a ticket to go see a movie each. It's crazy, but prices are different. So when you think about it, every time we're going to go see a 2-hour movie, we're paying $5 each. And so you can think about it, if you have a game that costs $50 and you have 4 people you're playing it with, and you get it to the table, so playing it once, it's going to be a high cost per person, right? At that point, it'd be like $42.50 per person. No, not 42. You know what I'm saying. So essentially, as you get more people and more time going, you're going to be able to break that down. And so if you were to have those 4 people and then you play it 4 times, then the cost per person is so low that honestly, playing games is like the best decision you could do, because you're going to get that much, you're maximizing your output of money and income of fun. Right? And so think about it like that when you're thinking about games. Some of these games might have a $50 or $100 price tag, but how much experience is going to be in that box? And if you do your homework, watch videos like this, reach out to me, ask questions, and get content through Board Game Geek, you can make those informed decisions. Is this going to be right for my game group? And that's what really inspires this channel, is trying to help you so that way you can have a lot more fun. Okay, let's get back to Gloomhaven. Okay, so in here we have the rule book. This is pretty thick, but again, it covers a lot because you're going to have different characters. These things are laid out very nice. Full color, high gloss. Gives a quick reference on the back, and I love it when they actually take use of the rulebook to give you information. Now, it may seem like there's a lot going on, and I'm just going to say there is, but it's going to layer over time. It doesn't just throw all this at you. And also, I really appreciate this. There's a QR code here on the bottom, and it says stop. If you'd prefer to just watch a video explanation of the rules, go here. And so Isaac has partnered with a different video creator to kind of walk through that and help players go into this. And I just think that's phenomenal. I love Watch It Played and some other playthrough channels, not playthrough channels, but really like learning those rule sets because I think it does a lot to help the hobby. Because yeah, for me, I might get a lot of satisfaction. I do get a lot of satisfaction out of sitting and reading, okay, well, how does a card work in the game? But for others, you might be more auditory or more visual, and it might be helpful for you to go and consume your content that way. And so I'm thankful that Isaac partnered with them to do this and to have that as an option for players. It also helps to consume content in different ways. So if you look at what's andragogy, so you have pedagogy, which is the study of children and adolescents and the mind's development. You also have andragogy, which is the development of adults and learning for adults. And so when looking at adults, it's really important to help layer the information, which is how this game is laid out, but then also to offer it in different formats, right? We all might need to hear a message more than once or in different ways. And so, again, I appreciate that. Then you've got this spiral bound book, and this is the scenario book. Super high quality on this. And so again, you might not see all of these in there. I'm going to limit what I show you because I don't really want to do spoilers. And so what I'm going to show you is the very opening. And you've got Gloomhaven, some overview information, and then you also have the first scenario, which is the Black Burrow. And everyone pretty much limits it to this, to what they're showing, because I don't want to spoil anything for you. I want to maximize your fun. So here you have kind of that introduction. You've got the dungeon and what's going to populate, because what you'll be doing is you'll be taking tiles and you'll actually make all of this. But if you notice all these little monsters and traps, you're not going to populate all that. You'll just populate the first room. And if you look at the colors around each of the characters, that means that it's actually the color code system for if it's a 2-player game, 3-player game, or 4-player game, or solo. And then you have where you'll actually start. And then you might have things like this one that are going to indicate, hey, when you get to this one, read the thing. And so these are references to the rule books. That's what those numbers are. Sometimes it might be an encounter, or sometimes it's just flavor text from what I've seen. But again, I've only had a couple of plays with it, but I haven't gotten to do the campaign. In here, you also have a board. Now, I've been saying, hey, you have a character sheet and you're going through. Bruce, I thought the board was the dungeon. Yeah, it is. But Isaac included for the game a board just for the town. Because, right, like you don't just exist in the world with dungeons. There's worlds and there's cities that happen. And so if you look closely at the board, you'll actually notice that there's little numbers around it. And what's going to be happening is that's the map to actually show where these different encounters and these dungeons are throughout the land. And now you don't know what they look like. And you don't know what order. It might say number 68, but that might be the second thing you do. And so those are completely random. Well, not completely random, but random in which the players won't know what's going to happen next. But the other thing about this game is between scenarios, you can go and visit Gloomhaven. And while visiting Gloomhaven, you can visit different places and upgrade your characters, interact with different people that are all, again, outlined through some town cards that are in here. I just haven't gotten to them yet because I'm literally an inch into this and I got a whole lot more to go. So thanks for bearing with me on all this, but it's really cool content. So you can go to that town to do different stuff, and as you level up, the town will level up. Now what's interesting about that is that, let's say you're playing with 2 people or 3 other people. Now I've had this happen in games, and maybe you have too, or if you haven't done a campaign game yet, where you're having these repeated plays to really get into the content. You might have somebody that you're 3 weeks in to the experience and that person moves away. Or has something come up in their life and they just can't come out in game. We all have, life happens, right? And so what you do is you actually, or maybe you just want to add somebody new and we've been playing as 2-player, let's add a third because they've been watching it and like, I heard you've been having a lot of fun, I want to join in. And so the town will level up and you'll use the town level up to actually help bring in the new player at a spot that's appropriate. And so they're not starting as this level 0 essentially person with nothing going on, but they're actually going to be able to contribute because they're somebody in the town is prospering, and so that person's going to come in as well. So you do have 2 pages, a little half page, and then a full big page, actually 3 pages, I am sorry, of sticker sheets. And so these are different places you might go around and explore. Some of them have names, some of them do not. But if you look real closely right here, that's the first one, that's the Black Burrow. And so you know number 1 is number 1. You've also got these, which are pretty cool. These are global achievement stickers. Global achievement stickers are for your campaign. And so let me give an example of one. City rule is economic. I really didn't want to read a lot of these, and that's why I didn't say many out loud. City rule, economic, and so you might do something to really enhance the economy of the city. Some of these, though, is they might change and have some bad things happen to your city, and so these are indications for that, but also some accomplishments that you might have that have to deal with the city. So those are all about the city. Now, this next thing I'm about to take out is a lot. This is why I bought the organizers, and this is why I'm going to show a video of me kind of setting that up. It's going to be just cutting to different points, not going to just a live video, we're just recording, but I'm going to fast forward through some different sections. But the reason I wanted to get the insert is because of this. Ugh. These are the tiles for the game. And now these obviously need to be punched. But there are, and they are double-sided, this is number 1, and they go to 18. There are 18 like huge size punch boards. And so all of these have like the different places to help you make your maps, different gold as well as monsters, as well as coins and damage. There's a lot going on here, but it's really, really cool. I'm going to show this one. This has a lot of monsters on it. I think you'll appreciate seeing this because you actually put these into little stands. Now, your characters are not standees, but there's just so many of them that it makes sense for these to be standees. But this dragon, I know people that have had the dragon and people that haven't had the dragon. Just different, like there's a bear, there's some crazy things because this is a world created by Isaac. And it's a world that a lot of people have had a lot of fun in, but it's also nice that there are some pullovers of some different tropes from Dungeons and Dragons and other role-playing systems, things like that. But he doesn't necessarily rely on that, which is good. Okay, so in here we also have, I'm going to just tilt this up and pull these out first. I'll show you these first. So in campaign games, so there's a difference between like a campaign game and a legacy game. And so this kind of straddles both, and you'll understand that what I mean by that here in a second. And so a campaign game is essentially a game where it's like you have your situation and then you put everything back in the box, you come back out, you do a new campaign, you're using the same characters, right? Well, there's also a legacy thing in which the legacy games layer on top of each other, maybe adding in new rules. So if you think of Charterstone, that is more of a legacy game because the rule book is missing parts of it, and you put stickers into the rule book because the towns you're creating have created new rules. There's also things like Pandemic Legacy Seasons 1, Season 2. They're going to be coming out with Season 3 this year. Be on the lookout for that, in which you actually legitimately like rip up cards. And I say this straddles both because it has the campaign element with your character and being able to take the character out, but also there are stickers and some, if you want to, rip up different things or unlock different things to experience. And so this game does come with some envelopes. There's more probably in this box. I'm just not going to show you. So this is like the A, the B envelopes. And so when you get to different things in the game, it might tell you to open an envelope and things might change. I've heard things get really cool with some of that. You've got the party sheet, so you will have your own character sheet, but this is the party sheet, so you get to really track what you've been doing as a group, as well as the reputation. So if y'all become like super evil, well, guess what? You're going to become super evil, and then when you're buying things in town, the shop price modifier is going to make things more expensive for you. We've also got a Gloomhaven picture here. I'm not going to show you what's on the back because it could be viewed as a spoiler, but it's really cool. I think you're going to want to check that out. We've also got a sticker sheet, another one with a lot of little stickers. Now what's nice about these is these are ones you'd actually use to modify and upgrade your character's cards. So this is a card-based system in which you're going to be using 2 cards per turn. Use one for its top action, so they're split in 2. One for its top action, the other one for its bottom action. And on those there'll be little dots, and you can pay experience points to actually upgrade those. We have a sealed, this is sealed, town records book. And so as you're going, at some point you'll be opening this, and then you'll be tracking different things or having different things come as appropriate for the players. Okay, now here's what I was saying about I'm not going to be doing any spoilers because I'm not going to be opening any of these boxes. But there are a whole bunch of boxes in here, and what these boxes are, those are the different characters. Now, no, you do not get to choose from all these cool looking symbols of characters from the start. You only get to choose from a very limited selection. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 characters in this box. 17 different characters. What you get to choose from at the beginning are essentially 4 or 5. And it tells you exactly which ones those are. And what you can do is you would then go, and what's interesting, you will not play as the same character through the whole campaign, because there are these cards in here that really add a cool element that is very unique to Gloomhaven, and that is essentially goals. And what they do is when you meet your private goal, you don't tell other people what they are, and when you meet your private goal, your character will retire. Because think about it, if let's say your goal in life is, you know what, I want to go out and I want to do this job, and I want to put X amount in the bank, and once I get to that X amount, I'm going to retire. Well, in real life, that's what somebody would do. If it is, you know what, I am an adventurer, I'm doing this stuff because I want to go explore all 7 continents in the real world. Well, once they explored all 7 continents, they can sit back, relax. They already accomplished their motivation. And so I really appreciate the fact that they pulled that into this game because I think it adds in variety, adds in like individualization to the characters, which is cool, and adds in the fact that you're not going to just like build up this character, because some people when they're playing Dungeons and Dragons, they do what's called min-maxing, and they want to just build the strongest character and really have it and evolve it. Well, part of this game would get super boring after a while if it was just the same after the same after the same. And you hear that with some games where it's just, I know exactly the experience I'm going to get. And so adding in those goals and having it where your character has retired, and then it'll present you what character box you might get to open. And then you choose from the remaining from the characters that are open and available to add to your party, and you'll draw a new objective for that person. And so I like that it keeps you leaning in and learning, as well as the character choices that you can make are in themselves branchings of stories, because the way you choose to do things, or who levels up, or who retires when, will add in different variety. And so if I'm playing this game and you're playing this game with your friends, well, in our character situation, more of the rogue or wizard type character might have retired, and then we had this other thing come in. For you, that might be that person was around for a while, but the strong character retired early, and we had this character come in, which is super different. And so I like that it can create and facilitate stories and create immersive experiences by adding new things constantly throughout this box. Okay, so in here, some other things we have. So similar to, what's it called? Hero Quest, my apologies. And some other games, like, you're going to have different monsters. And the monsters that you have are going to be controlled, and you'll learn as players to kind of do them and how their turn works. But those characters and the monsters have a very interesting thing going on, and that is they're going to have their own statistics. And so each character, and this is going to look complicated, but it's not once you figure out how it's written. And so you're going to have things like this Deep Terror or the Bandit Commander. Now, if you look at this, like, there seems to be a lot going on. But something that came out of the Kickstarter was this really interesting thing of, why don't you use envelopes? And when you think about it, an envelope is like, what is he going to do with an envelope? And so what you do is you cut your information to just this top part, and the top part that's showing is the level of the character you're using. If you turn it, it will change the level. The level is indicated in this upper left-hand corner. And so this is level 2. This is level 1. This is level 0. And so if you're all level 1 characters, you might want to go with level 1. Or if you are all like, hey, we're level 1, but we don't know what we're doing yet, you might want to go with level 0. And so that is completely okay. But depending on how you set the level, just know this, you'll set the level for the entire dungeon. You can't choose based on the character, on the monster, I mean. You're going to set it for the dungeon. We're going to go at this level 0. And the reason that's important is when you encounter different treasure and things like that, you will then look, okay, what was the level of this dungeon? And then the appropriate amount of things you would receive for completing that at that level scales, which is cool. All of those. Okay, so real quick, there are over 1,000 cards in this box. Just going to say it. There's over 1,000 cards in this box. And the reason for that is every one of those types of characters, now some of them might just be bandit, or some of them might just be archer, or they might be specific, like the stone golem. Every one of these things has their own actions, enhancements. And so every turn, you're going to flip one of these over for that specific character, that specific monster, and that will be the stats for it of what it's going to do. So in this case, the Living Bones will have an initiative of 64, and their movement is -1, and their attack is +1. They're not going to move as far, but they're going to swing and hit for a little bit more. And what's really nice is that Isaac and others have worked with different web applications, and so if you go online, there's a thing called the Gloomhaven helper that makes it so you don't even use these cards, and you don't actually even need to use these. They're all available in a digital format for you to be able to go in and dig into the information and have it on a screen. But again, you're going to want to have an iPad or a computer screen for that. But if you want to go analog, just use the cards. They work perfectly fine. I've played it with the cards. It's easy. But again, it's upkeep a little bit, because if you want to shuffle the deck of the monster, because there's things that make you shuffle them, it's going to take a couple seconds, and that speed of play is going to change. Okay, other things we have in here. This is a really cool part of this game, and these are the attack modifier cards. Now there's also little decks of these in each of the boxes in here, but essentially Isaac was designing a game from the standpoint of, I don't want people, like every other game, rolling dice. And so in any given fight, you're going to be having a deck. Now this is obviously not one deck, this is a lot of decks. This is with the attack modifiers, and so what it is it's essentially a D20. So a 20-sided die, very stereotypical for Dungeons and Dragons. And what happens is you'll flip, there's 20 cards, and you'll flip it over, and it could be a +0, +1, -1, -2, double damage, or a just swing and a miss. But the nice thing about having this and not using, so like here's the +0. The nice thing about having this and not having the dice is that dice are stagnant. It's just, you have 20 sides. And usually people look at the 20 being the best, 1 being the worst. Absolute fail. What's interesting about Gloomhaven is by having it as cards, you can have things that add new cards or replace cards, and you can choose which cards to take out. Probably you'll take out the -1s or the swing and a miss if you can. And what's nice is you'll have your die, your 20 cards, upgrade with you and give you a better advantage. And it's more customizable. So that's just really cool. You've also got different things in here. So you've got different location cards. I'm not going to show you that. You've also got things for different, while you're in the dungeons, to actually earn different check marks. So that way you can unlock more things. So like this, and it'll have check marks at the bottom, either 1 or 2. You have standees for the different characters, for the monsters, I mean. You've got more attack modifier cards. You've got, the insert that's in here is actually really good. Some people just honestly use, what's it called? Ziploc bags, things like that. You've got different equipment cards, a whole bunch of equipment. And so for the first scenario, I believe you can use between the number 1 and then number 14 of the equipment. This one's number 75, this one's number 133, and there's a whole bunch in here, but just for an example, like the boots of striding. And what's nice about this, you can add +2 to your movement, but also you can, you essentially just exhaust it. And so how how equipment works is essentially you have one thing for your feet. You have 2 hands, so you can have one 2-handed thing or 2 one-handed things, or like a helmet or armor. It makes sense. So something similar to a game called Too Many Bones, they use this really cool little narrative cards to illustrate what happens in the city or while you're walking to the different dungeons, so on the road, and you'll read this text. And then, so what's nice about this is you have one person read, the other person make the choices. And they'll choose like option A or option B, and after you do that, you then show the back and you read what happens. So you have option A, option B, and the same thing for the road events and option A, option B on the back. Okay, so we also have different information on some of the things that might come up in the game, and so these are different story elements. Not going to show you that. Just show you that it's there. You also have player references and some other cards that I'm not going to open up, but player reference for what all the symbols mean. In here you also, and this is new for the 2nd edition, so this is the 2nd edition Kickstarter, and this is the version that you most likely see on shelves. You've got these dials. So in the original version of this game, your character card had this little notch, and you'd slide a little piece of wood to indicate what experience you've gained on that scenario, and also another one to track your health. Now, what happens if you jolt that, then you might mess it up. And so this essentially is the same thing as the dials from King of Tokyo, but there's 2. And so there's one on your left, and that is your health, and there's one on your right, and that is for your experience points. And so your health will start at whatever your character's health is, and your experience points start at 0. And then these just spin super easy, and the experience points goes up to 26. So we'll see how many you can unlock. And there are 4 of these in here, so 1 for each player. Okay, something else that's in here. Again, there's 17 of these. And what's interesting is actually some of them, one says 1 of 2. Not going to show you which one that is. But in here you've got these little boxes. with just a symbol, and that symbol corresponds to the bigger box. So this is, they don't have standees for the characters. They have miniatures. This box contains a miniature that is relevant to this character. And this box contains character sheet as well as cards and things like that. I'm not going to open it up because I said no spoilers. And what's really nice is you can actually use these bigger boxes to store your character's information as you continue to get new cards or upgrades. But then the miniature has its own box that sits in here really, really nice. And so that is essentially everything that's in here. I don't want to do too much digging because I don't want to also spoil anything that might be hidden in the game. Like some other games might say to do X, Y, or Z. Example of that actually that I can talk about, because in the rule book, is Grim Forest, which is right behind me on the shelf. And that's made by Druid City Games. And in that game, it says, hey, after you unpunch everything from the cardboard, I want you to take all the inserts out of the box and put this in there to then raise the level of the insert so the box still closes flush, so nothing's jolting around. Well, if you do that, you find a special card. And that card is essentially the genie, because the box is considered the lamp. And that game's based on Grimm's fairy tales, and so it pulls in a lot of Disney-esque characters. And so there might be things hidden in here. I don't know. And please don't spoil it if you have been playing for other players. And so just to be considerate, this is Gloomhaven. I know it was long. Thanks for bearing with me, but I just thought this is really cool and really helpful for those who see this game box on the shelf of a game store and like, what the heck is that? It seems really cool. And when you pick it up, just like, oh, what is going on in here? I have to know. And what's going on in here is a lot of potential fun for you and your gaming group. And again, if you are interested in this, feel free to ask me some questions. I'm curious, based on everything I showed you, what is the thing that you're most interested in learning about? Doesn't mean I can answer it because of spoilers. But what's the thing you're most interested in learning about? Have you played Gloomhaven? What are your thoughts? And then also, if you played Dungeons and Dragons and like that tactical combat type thing, and you like card-based mechanics, I recommend checking this out. But again, this is a game that you're not just going to want to get to the table once. And so I actually plan on leaving it set up on my game table and then using the lid of our game table to cover it. And so that way we can just keep getting it to the table, keep getting it to the table, at least parts of it set up. Okay, so that's going to do it for this. But like I said, I'm going to be posting a follow-up video for this in which I'm going to be doing some more information and also see how this game's playing out and see how these different things come into play for organizing all these different cards and kind of keeping all this organized. But until next time, go feel free to check out the rest of the Facebook page. Give this video a like, drop some comments. Feel free to check out the podcast, and if you're interested in seeing more videos like this, let me know if there's certain games you'd like to see. Put that in the comments, but please do give this video a like, give it a share, and make sure to like the Facebook page so that way it'll populate in your Facebook algorithm. But until next time, go out and have a positive impact on the world.